In its fifth report on parliamentary oversight, the organisation undoing tax abuse says Parliament continues to fail to deliver on its oversight duties. The report focused on the National Assembly as well as portfolio committees. Let's get more details now and speak to OUTA Parliamentary Engagement and Research Manager Rachel Fischer. Rachel, thank you so much for your time this evening. When one goes through your report, there's several aspects that you're raising when it comes to this particular issue of oversight. And I wonder what tops the agenda for you as you say that Parliament continues to fail in its oversight duties.
Absolutely. So I think one of the core issues is the delay in implementing and taking very seriously the Zondo recommendations. It's been more than a year since all the reports have been submitted, and we are yet to see concerted efforts to actually implement those changes. You might recall that in June, when it was the one-year anniversary, a conference was held where Chief Justice Zondo indicated that should state capture occur again, Parliament might fail to stop it. And the Speaker, they were upset and they rushed to have a meeting. But why wait for a conference before you start addressing these issues? It could have started at the beginning of the year.
And from what you also raise as well in your report, I wonder how much of, all of this is also compounded by the fact that MPs often have to toe the party line, particularly in most of what they're doing in terms of decisions, in terms of voting, and some of the motions that get put before the House. Absolutely.
I actually want to read a quote, and it came out yesterday evening on Times Live, where the ANC Youth League President Colin Malachri said that, and I quote, "We are saying the ANC must immediately charge those MPs that don't follow the party line because they are deployed in Parliament by the ANC." Now, of course, if the majority of South Africans voted for the party, that is good, but you should serve the public, not the party. So there are many instances where there are activities happening that is to the detriment of the public. And when this gets raised in the portfolio committee meetings, those voices of the opposition usually are muffled by those that are towing the party line for the interests of the political party.
And one thinks about Parliament, for example, because I'm sure each and every single political party wants every single member that is deployed there by it to toe the party line. And one can argue that maybe it's not even an ANC problem alone. So how do MPs begin to work around this? Because ultimately, when you're there and you're placed there by a political party, you then have to, according to some of what they're saying, work towards what the party wants. And you say that, of course, the number one should be the people of South Africa, and a lot of people will agree with that. So what proposals then are put in place to try and deal with that?
There are a couple, and this also links to one of the Zondo recommendations and something that we also recommend. And this is for the chairpersons of portfolio committees to be members of the opposition party as a way of a balancing act. We see this within the Select Committee on Public Accounts, SCOPA, where the chairpersons from the opposition party, but then where there are concerted efforts to give an ear to all the different voices around the table. What frequently happens within the portfolio committee meetings, if there is a vote to be made on the adoption of a report, as an example, there are instances where some of the portfolio committee members do not agree with the findings or with the report. And when the vote is cast in the end, they are in the minority, but then the report gets adopted. So after the fact, it seems like Parliament has approved, but there are those that have rejected it. If then the opposition leader is from is the chairperson of the party, at least then one could take those voices heard and make recommendations to be adopted and in the report.
Do those recommendations, though, really work? Are they taken into consideration? Because sometimes we see even some of the SCOPA MPs, for example, talking tough, but we're seeing very little follow-up in terms of, action and what is supposed to happen post that.
That is exactly it. It mirrors to what our experiences are, that when there are attempts to bite, there are no teeth. So, for example, something that can be done is the portfolio committees have the ability to accept or reject budgets, and then budget specifically within government departments on line items. Now, we haven't found any instances of portfolio committees rejecting certain budget line items of repeat offenders within projects. Good examples is the Community Works Program or the solar water heating program, where there has been a dismal failure over years to deliver on services that the most vulnerable of society needs, but then nothing is being done. It's noted in meetings that there are concerns and there are problems, but there's no follow-through. No sanctions are being put in place and no budgets are being cut.
And another thing that one sees as a concern is the fact that sometimes the very people who they are talking about, the very ministers of different portfolios, sometimes don't pitch.
Yes. Sorry, it's serious and I'm laughing, but this is exactly what the problem is. Another example, if you consider with the ethics and members' interest, and that's with the former minister Zwane, that had to appear in National Assembly and apologize for the transgressions during the state capture tenure, if we could put it that way. His penalty fine was 5 days of salary. That's approximately 20,000 Rand. Which, I mean, it's, I suppose, pocket change in the end. And he never appeared in person to apologize. But then, as you rightly say, we have ministers and the executive that do not frequently attend meetings. There is no benchmark. There's no minimum rate. But we see attendance as the executive showing they've got interest in what's happening in the portfolio committees. Same as with questions and answers. We expect on-time answers to oral and written questions posed, and we find a majority of cases answers are late.
And that has some serious implications, and especially when you think about the number of South Africans who are watching, even sometimes live, these proceedings, looking for answers, looking to understand exactly what's going on. But when you're told a minister is a no-show, it raises some serious questions. But let me thank you, Rachel, for your time. Do appreciate it this evening. That is OUTA Parliamentary Engagement and Research Manager Rachel Fischer talking to us about that report that they've released into Parliamentary Oversight.